Welcome back to All Abilities Homestead, and a very happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you. At a time when people are posting their Norman Rockwell everything turned out perfect Thanksgiving videos, I'm just going to keep it real. I was cooking for 16 people. I made a couple of turkeys and a ham and stuffing, and we had mashed potatoes and green bean casserole, all of those usual things. But I had this brilliant idea because I had a lot of apples. I thought I would make some of those beautiful little apple roses with puff pastry. You may have seen them on Pinterest. You can probably consider this my Pinterest fail. You start with puff pastry and roll it all out, and then cut it into strips and spread a little bit of apricot jam on it and some cinnamon sugar mixed together. And then you slice up your apples and put them in a bowl with just enough water to cover them and a little bit of lemon juice. And then you're supposed to put them in the microwave for 5 minutes to soften up the apples so that they will roll easily. Here you'll see the picture of what they should look like. And here's where my fail came in. First of all, puff pastry needs to stay very, very cold. So if I were doing this again, and I might try it, I would slice up all my apples and put them in the bowl of water and have them setting to the side, ready to go immediately. And I would wait till the very last minute to pull out the puff pastry and start slicing it up. I did neither of those. Puff pastry started getting warm on me really fast, and so then it just becomes a gooey dough ball. Apples in the microwave for 5 minutes turn to mush, so not usable for anything. So then I had this other idea. Maybe I would microwave the water first and then slice up apples and just drop them into the hot water to soften them up some. And in the meantime, I should have put the puff pastry in the refrigerator to keep it cold. I didn't. So what you're fixing to see is an epic fail. It did not come out like that pretty little rose. And that's okay. The rest of dinner turned out fine. These, my concoction were tasty. I didn't serve them for Thanksgiving. I let the grandkids have them for breakfast instead. I was making them the day before Thanksgiving so that I would have them and they'd look beautiful on a platter when everybody got here. But all in all, if I only had one fail this Thanksgiving, I'm okay with that. You live and you learn, and next time I know all the things that I will change. And I could have just deleted this whole video and said, oh, nope, I never make mistakes. But that wouldn't be real life. There was a saying years ago that you had to break some eggs to make a cake. And I live by that saying. You've got to make some mistakes in order to have things turn out well. And there's no shame in making those mistakes. It's perfectly fine to learn from them and to laugh about it later. You know, my grandkids and my daughter and I will laugh about this the next time I try and make roses. I'm sure my daughter will probably ask me if I'm sure that that's what I want to do. And I'm not sure how quick it'll be, but yeah, I'll probably do it again. So here I've sliced up my puff pastry, and I put the apricot jam and the cinnamon and sugar down. And I'm trying to think it through in my head, the best route to go. I'm thinking I said a few dirty words. I don't know what kind of apples I had. The green ones are Granny Smith. The roses are supposed to be made with the red ones, but my red ones were a lot more mealy. They just really turned to mush a whole lot faster. So they weren't probably the best apples to be trying to make the little apple pies with. So my daughter is sticking the water in the microwave for me, and I'm slicing up the apples, and in the meantime my puff pastry is getting warm. My middle grandson is picking up the apples and taking bites out of them while I'm working on this, and I'm trying to be patient and know that he just wants to be participating. But I'm learning. I'm learning from mistakes, and my grandkids are learning to try things even if it doesn't turn out perfect. And I will tell you, they were delicious. I mean, it had all the ingredients in it. I used the puff pastry, I used the apples and the cinnamon and sugar and an apricot jam, or preserves, whichever that was. So all the ingredients were there, they just didn't have the presentation that would have been pretty. So there's my hot water, and I'm going to just dip apples in, not putting them in a really long time because, again, I don't want them to turn to mush. But you'll see these red ones are already kind of overly soft to where they're coming apart a little bit. And I'm trying to move as fast as I can, but that's just not very fast. So I folded it up just like the video shows. That went perfect. Everything looks good until I start trying to roll. And then, because it's gotten soft, it's sticking to the parchment paper. So, not a rose. And apples were too mushy to try and deal with even with that little bit. So I'm cutting it into squares. And I'm thinking I'm going to make little tiny apple turnovers that I can just put a little bit of each of the fillings in and a little piece of apple and wrap it over the top, and it'll just make little tiny triangles. Haha, it doesn't make little tiny triangles. It's stuck to the parchment paper. I'm fighting with it, trying to get it off of it. In hindsight, maybe I could have stuck that back in the fridge and let it firm up before I was trying to scrape it off of there. But here's my dough ball mess. I'm kind of getting some squares. Kinda. Not really. I fight with it for a little bit longer before I finally pitch what I can't get off of there in the trash. If I'm not saying the words, I'm thinking them. So I'm putting some little squares over in my muffin pan because I thought I'll try making little miniature apple tarts that way. The prettier squares I used over there. The messier squares I left on the baking sheet. And what was still stuck to the parchment, still quite a bit. Have you made these apple roses before? Do you know how to make them? I would be happy to hear tips on what you've done that made it go a little bit better, because the videos that people showed made them look so easy. I watched at least half a dozen of those videos thinking, oh, that's a piece of cake, I can do that. So now just a little bit of the jam on each of the little square pieces. that big glob of apple and puff pastry dough? I want you to know that it did taste really good. And it did, the puff pastry came out perfect out of the oven, and the apples were cooked, and everything tasted great. It just didn't look great. So then I'm putting a little piece of apple in each one and kind of folding it over on it. Not really getting the triangles that I had hoped for because I didn't really have squares to begin with. At one point, I think my oldest grandson suggested that maybe I should just throw them away. And I said, no, I got all the ingredients here, and I'm not throwing away that puff pastry. We'll make it work. So then I'm stacking in and using up the rest of my... And there you go. That's what it looks like. Happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for watching.